How y'all doing out there in video land? Part two. Here we go. Part two. This Large Espada modification. Just modding it out. I decided to go ahead and do the back spacer. I just want to show y'all where I'm at so far and how am I doing this. Right now I'm using 1500 grit. 1500 grit. I started off with this on 400 grit. Now I got it pretty much to the point where it's ready to get polished. Just showing you how I do it. I'm doing it against a flat piece of glass using wet sandpaper. I dip the sandpaper in water and just try to keep it as flat as possible. I don't want to go do the edges at all. I just want to keep it perfectly flat. You can apply this technique to pretty much all the aluminum backspacers if you want to do aluminum, make your aluminum backspacers be polished. You could use the same technique. That's the reason why I want to show you what I was doing really quick. I'm going to go to the next sandpaper. It's going to be 2000 grit. Set this one aside. Break out the 2000. Get nice and wet. Now all these other parts have been polished at 1500 already, so they'll be getting polished at 2000 grit too. Now I'm polishing very lightly. I'm putting very little pressure on this. Because I'm trying to take out also sanding is when you go to the finer grits, you're going from sanding scratches and making the scratches finer and finer until you can't even see them and they become a mirror polish. That's what your goal is. That's the reason why you're going to higher grits. The highest grit I can get in my area for sandpaper is 3000. If I can get 5 or 6 or 7000, I would get it, but I can't get that. So I just use what I have, and then from there I use the buffing wheel. On my hand drill, I put buffing wheels on it, and then I use polishing grits. And so that sort of makes up for going into the higher grits. And it puts a really nice shine on it. It puts a really nice mirror polish on it when you buff things out with buffing compounds. A little bit nicer polish than just sanding. You want to keep it nice and flat. That's the main thing you want to do, is keep it nice and flat. You can see it starting to come out there. Now it's pretty much where it's not going to get any shinier than this. It might get a little bit shinier, but when it will really shine is when I buff it out with the buffing compound. That's when you'll really notice a big shine. I can tell right now it's gonna buff out really nice because I don't see any grind marks or sanding lines or anything like that anymore. So that's a sign right there that's pretty much all I need to do right there. But I'm gonna take it to 3000 grit. I'm gonna do these other parts. I'm doing this area right in here. Same thing, just very little pressure. The steel parts already shine. The steel shines faster than aluminum. I mean, you'll actually be able to notice it faster. You can notice steel with just sanding, without the buffing. Oh yeah, see, that's good for that right there. And do these other parts. Always keeping all your edges flat. You don't want to round off anything. Try to keep everything flat, just like it came from the factory. And then when I put it together, I'm gonna buff it all together. Just a little light sanding on the side. Only with the high grits, so not with the low grits. Because you don't want to change anything. You just want to make it a little bit shinier. You want to get off all the dull finish on it. This knife is going to be beautiful, people. I was tempted to do the blade, but no, I don't want to do the blade because this is going to be a using knife, a knife that I'm going to use, so I don't really want to polish the blade. I want to polish all the parts that rub against each other so everything works extra smooth. That's one thing that I really like about a knife is when it works really smoothly. A lot of the cold steel knives, you know, if you put a little bit of love into them, they turn into really smooth knives, people. I always hear people complaining about, well, yeah, it's hard to do this, hard to do that. It feels gritty doing this, gritty doing that. You just got to take it apart and check it for burrs and deburr it and give things a little light polish here and there and buff things out here and there and lube and tune it to your preference. And you'll have a beautiful knife, people. I think they should do that at the cold steel factory. They should have them like like Harley Davidson has a CVO, custom vehicle operations, which is a little bit different than the normal production line. I think they ought to have a CVO custom, or it would be a CKO, custom knife operations. Custom knife operations in cold steel where they give some knives a little extra attention. You know, they charge a little extra for it, and it's a service. You know, but have things finished really nicely and detailed really nicely and quality checked really perfectly and all that. I would pay extra for that, me myself, because then I wouldn't have to do it myself. But then again, I don't really mind doing it. You know, I'm one of those kind of people. I sort of like to tinker. You know, I built my own cars and motorcycles and trucks and things, and I just, I'm just one of those kind of people that just likes to tinker with things all the time. Now this is what I was talking about. I like to do these and keep them flat. And the main part that you really want, but you're gonna sand everything smooth because you can't do anything different than the other part. So you got to do it all together, and it has to be perfectly flat. But the reason why I'm doing it though is because I want the pivot area to get more polished. I'm not really concerned with this area being polished, but you have to polish it all together so that it keeps everything perfectly flat. Is it necessary to have everything all polished? No. But do you have to do everything all polished if you want the fitment to stay perfect? Yes. Because you want everything to be the same thickness. Because whenever you sand something, you're removing a little bit of material, people. And even though this is 2,000 grit, it started at 1,500 grit when I started doing this. It is sanding it. It's just making it a beautiful finish. Nice and smooth. Just the way I want it. So I guess this is going to be a 3-part video, people. I just thought I'd show you guys real quick what I'm doing. And maybe I will get it finished today. It's not even Super Bowl time yet. I started this morning. Oh yeah, this is gonna be nice. Oh yeah. Lock bar. Parts of the lock bar that you can wet sand is this side, and this up in here. Do not mess with this area or this area. Do not mess with this area or this area. It's okay to wet sand here, here, and here. On the sides, you just want to lightly wet sand. You don't want to change the shape of anything. Up here, you can get a little bit more intense because there's usually more grind lines on lock bars. But this lock bar right here for this model is very smooth already. So I started off with 1,500 grit instead of starting off with like 400 because it didn't have any grind lines on it. I just want to make it polished. It had like the dull finish on it. I just had to remove the finish. Very easy mod to do what I'm doing right here for this. I thought it was going to be longer, but it's going to be really quick because all the parts are very nicely done. They were very nicely finished. They didn't have grind lines on them or anything. Look how smooth the sides are. I mean, it's beautiful. That's why this knife operates so nicely off the get-go. I highly recommend these Large Espadas, people. Actually, I think they're probably a better value than getting a Tau War. Unless you're like me and just like the Tau War because it's really light and it weighs like an ounce less than the Espada. Espada is like I think a 9-ounce knife, and I think the Tau War is more like an 8-ounce knife. My Oz 8 one weighs 7.8 ounces, I think. And my other ones are like right at 8 ounces. I think the Espada is pretty much like a 9.1 or 9.2 or something like that. But the parts are heavier duty. The lock bar is heavier duty. This piece right here, the lock bar is more heavy duty than the Tau War lock bar. The Tau War doesn't have the triad reinforcement, the stainless steel triad reinforcement. And the blade is not as thick throughout. The blade is more of a full flat ground blade. They both start off the same blade stock though. They're both like 3.8 millimeter blade stock or 4 millimeter, right around in there. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have this one done right now, people. I think it's gonna be done real quick. So we will have a finished video today. I thought it was gonna take me longer. Actually, it's going pretty quick because these parts are already really nice. I just had to really just touch them up. Okay, what I'm going to do next, people, I'm just going to go ahead and buff them out. Oh no, wait a minute, we got two more things of toilet paper. Two more things of there we go. Let me cut this one down. Now we're going to 2500. All right. All right, 2500. And after that's 3000 grit, and after that's buffing time. Yeah, it's going really quick, people. Who you guys rooting for? Who you guys rooting for in the Super Bowl? Kansas City, Kansas City, here I come. I gotta go with Kansas City, people. Gotta go with Kansas City. I got a bet riding on it. A Togo sandwich. A large hot pastrami Togos with a guacamole. And extra pepperoncinos. Bet one of my coworkers. They took the Eagles. All right. All right. It's important to use a flat surface, though. Because when you don't, everything gets rounded off and it looks kind of wonky. I think it looks better when you keep everything like perfect, like the original shape it was originally meant to be. Unless it has some things on it that you want to round off or something like that. Like I do a lot of times on the OG goat scales. Lots of times I like to round off the edges and stuff like that. Looking good, bro. Looking good. This piece already did. Wait a minute. Can't remember if I did or not. I'm going to do it again. If I already did, I'm doing it again. It's really done. At this point, when you get to this level, you're really done. You're just putting like a finishing touch on it. And your prep work is extremely important, people. Before you go to buffing or doing your final finishing or whatever, because your prep work, if you do really good prep work, it shows up in your final finishing. Because everything will look beautiful, absolutely beautiful, people. This piece is really important to get right on the top side of it because it's going to be a very visible part of the your work that you're doing. That and the back spacer. But you can see it's pretty much there already. Pretty much there already, people. I already did this piece too, I know. All right. Looks good. Standing tall and looking good. Just like a soldier should. Casey Jones. Casey Jones was a mean son of a beep. Ran his track right into a whorehouse beep. Well, wait a minute, is that saying it right? It's hard to say without the cuss words, people. It's the cadence that we used to march to in my unit in Dexheim, Germany. It was an all-man unit, so we were allowed to have cadences with cuss words. Because there wasn't any women present. We were total infantry, bro. So we had some fun cadences. And when I came back stateside, stationed at Fort Hood, Texas, with the 312th MI Battalion at Fort Hood, we had women in our unit. And we couldn't do the fun cadences anymore. We had to be politically correct. It's all good. It's all good. First Cav, 312th MI Battalion, Fort Hood, Texas. Many moons ago. That's when I was a young man. That's where I bought my first Harley Davidson. I was stationed at Fort Hood. At Killeen Harley Davidson in Killeen, Texas. 79 Roadster. Harley Davidson Roadster. 1000cc Iron Head Roadster. We're all halfway across the United States. From Texas to Sacramento, California. Oh yeah. In the wintertime. When I got out the military. after my first enlistment. All right. I was young then. I wouldn't do it now. All right, people. But that's it for that. You know what? I'm going to do another video. Let's do a buffing video too. I'm going to go ahead and stop this one right here. This is the sanding video. Next one will be the buffing video, people. It's going to be a 4-part video. It's going to have 4 parts. Peace out. Stiletto.